Today, we're cracking open the case files from the GIA Gem Lab. Think of it like CSI, but for gemstones. We're going to uncover the incredible and sometimes unbelievable stories hidden deep inside them.
So, let's get into it. Every single gem that shows up at the lab is basically a puzzle. Is it a natural masterpiece that took millions of years to form? Or is it a really sophisticated fake designed to fool even a sharp eye? Or just maybe, is it something so rare it's never ever been seen before? These gem detectives, they use some seriously high-tech tools and just razor-sharp instincts to find the truth. And we've got some of their most fascinating recent cases right here.
All right, first up, we're going to look at two cases that just show how completely weird and wonderful the natural world can be. I mean, we're talking about gems created in some of the most unexpected ways you can possibly imagine. So our first mystery kicks off with this absolutely stunning light yellow bangle bracelet. I mean, it's beautiful, no doubt. But the real question is, where on Earth, or maybe not on Earth, did it come from? Well, the number one theory was something called Libyan desert glass. Now, this is not your everyday run-of-the-mill glass. Oh no, this stuff is forged in the absolutely insane heat of a meteorite impact. We're talking about a cosmic event literally melting desert sand into the super pure silica glass. And this piece, get this, it's over 144 carats. That is a massive example of this ridiculously rare material. So to prove it, the detectives had to go microscopic, and what they found were all these telltale signs. You had trapped gas bubbles, you had these swirling patterns that showed it formed really, really fast and hot. But the real clincher were these tiny little white spheres scattered all throughout the glass. And that was the final piece of the puzzle. They used a technique called Raman spectroscopy, which is basically like shooting a laser at something to get its unique chemical fingerprint, and they identified those little white spheres as crystal ball light. Now that is a special form of silica that only forms under extreme, and I mean extreme, heat. So, case closed. This bangle wasn't just made on Earth. It was made by the cosmos, literally crashing right into it. How cool is that? Okay, so we're going from a cosmic collision in the middle of the desert down to a much smaller kind of a biological drama. A dark, bumpy blister attached to a piece of shell shows up at the lab. It looks pretty interesting, sure, but the real story is what's hidden inside. So the gemologists put it under an X-ray, and you just have to imagine the look on their faces when they saw the results. Because tucked away inside was a complete, perfectly preserved sea snail, an 8.3 millimeter gastropod shell just entombed right there in the blister. So this wasn't a pearl, it was a natural shell blister. It's actually a defense mechanism. This tiny little snail just got a little too close, and the mollusk, well, it just built its house right over it, layer by layer, creating this incredible natural tomb, a total 1 in a million story of marine life captured forever. Okay, so those were nature's kind of happy accidents. Now we're going to move into the world of the truly unprecedented. We're talking gems that push the boundaries of what even the world's top experts had ever laid eyes on before. Which brings us to case number 3. This gorgeous 2.13 carat purple stone lands on the desk. It's transparent, it's beautifully cut, but its properties are just baffling everybody. It wasn't just rare. For the Carlsbad lab, it was a complete and total unknown. So the team gets to work. Its specific gravity clocked in at 297. It had high birefringence, which basically means light splits in two when it passes through, creating this cool doubling effect on the facets. But here's the catch. Its hardness was only a 3.5 on the Mohs scale. That's way too soft for most jewelry. All the numbers were pointing to a very rare collector's gem called anhydrite, a mineral you just don't see in this quality. And after they confirmed its identity with spectroscopy, they realized just how big of a deal this was. The lab notes actually captured this historic moment perfectly, saying it was the very first example of a transparent, purple, faceted anhydrite they had ever examined. That's a true scientific benchmark. But the mysteries just kept coming. Next up, this big, beautiful 7.26 carat pink stone. All the usual gemological tests, the refractive index, the specific gravity, they all screamed garnet, specifically a pyrope garnet. But there was one huge problem. Pyrope garnets are supposed to be red or reddish-orange. They're not supposed to be pink. So they ran a full chemical analysis, and the verdict came back, and it confirmed the impossible. It was a pyrope garnet. A pink pyrope garnet is unbelievably rare on its own, but to find one that's over 7 carats?
That's not just a discovery. That basically rewrites the book on what's even possible for this gemstone. All right, for our final section, we're going to shift gears from nature's creations to the impact of human hands. These next three cases, they reveal the whole spectrum of how we interact with gems, from deception and artistry all the way to pure accident. Okay, so let's dive into a case of potential fraud. A batch of pearls comes in for testing. A few of them have this deep yellow kind of antique look, right? Which, if real, could make them super valuable. But right away, the gemologist's alarm bells started going off. Something just wasn't right. And the evidence against them just piled up fast. First, the yellow color was all bunched up around the drill holes, which looked way too big and worked over. Real aging would be uniform. Second, the surfaces were a little bit etched, almost like they were treated with a chemical, not smoothly worn down by decades of time. And the final nail in the coffin? You could literally see patches of the original white color peeking through. These weren't antique, they were just very clever fakes. So that was a clear-cut case of deception, right? But human intervention isn't always about trying to fool someone. Sometimes the motive is pure artistry. And that brings us to our next case, which really could not be more different. Just look at this thing, a golden South Sea pearl in a nearly perfect heart shape. Now, this is not something a mollusk just decides to do on its own. So the question for the lab wasn't, is this real? It was, how in the world do they achieve this level of perfection? The sheer ingenuity behind it was revealed by X-rays. Instead of using a typical little round bead to start the pearl farmers had nucleated the oyster with a pre-carved, heart-shaped bead. The mollusk then just did its natural thing, coating that nucleus perfectly and evenly with that beautiful, lustrous nacre. This isn't deception at all. It's a stunning feat of aquaculture. It's pushing the art of pearl culturing to a whole new level. Our final case, it isn't about deception or artistry. It's about an accidental fingerprint left behind by a really common process. A Burmese ruby comes in for an origin report. The lab confirms that it's been heat-treated to improve its color, which is totally standard stuff. But that heat, it left a little clue. And that clue is something called synthetic overgrowth. What happens is, during that high-temperature heating, the surface of the ruby can partially dissolve. Then, as it cools, new synthetic crystals of corundum, which is the mineral ruby is made of, can actually grow in any little cavities or right on the surface. It's this unintentional signature, a tiny artifact that proves the gem has been touched by human hands. So from glass that was literally forged by meteorites, to snails entombed in shells, from clever fakes to groundbreaking artistry, every single gem has a hidden story. It's a tale of deep time, incredible biology, or just sheer human ingenuity. It kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? The next time you look at a piece of jewelry, what secret story is it waiting to tell you?